Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar on Revolutionizing Executive Insight with the SAP Digital Boardroom. First, today you'll be hearing from Rob Jerome, our VP of Innovation and Technology, and then from Manager Rich Lebec. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, you can submit them through the Q&A dialog box. We'll go ahead and answer some of the questions at the end and then follow up directly for any questions that we don't get to during the webinar. So now I will hand this off to Rob Jerome.
Thanks, Spencer. Can you hear me okay? Great. Thank you, everybody, for joining our webinar today. This is the next webinar in our series of analytics and database and data management webinars. We're very, very excited about today's webinar because it focuses on Digital Boardroom, which is a huge initiative by SAP and a huge initiative of Dickinson and Associates. Before we go into the webinar, I'm just going to give a high level on Dickinson as a company, since some folks attending today may not be familiar with our organization. So Dickinson and Associates, who are we? Dickinson is an SAP Gold Channel partner. All we do is SAP. We've been in business for 19 years, and we have a very specific focus on SAP ERP. Today, that means SAP S/4HANA, BI Analytics, which means BusinessObjects Cloud, BPC, data services, the EIM suite, basically, and the SAP HANA platform, whether it be on-premise HANA, HANA Cloud platform. Our company, we're about a $40 million organization with about 140 consultants. And our tagline at the bottom of the slide you can see is business people who know SAP. And what does that mean? That means that most of us who work at Dickinson came from industry and then moved into the software implementation and consulting business. We've got offices in Chicago. We're obviously headquartered there. And we've got satellite offices in New York, Scottsdale, and Cincinnati. Next slide, please. From an expertise perspective, this slide really at a high level outlines what we do as an organization. So earlier I mentioned S/4HANA. We've got several live S/4HANA customers, and we've got methodologies and accelerators to move customers to S/4. Business intelligence and analytics, that's really what our focus is today in the Digital Boardroom. Platform and technology, for us that means basically SAP HANA, SAP IQ, application development on HANA, SAP Fiori UX, and user experience and user interface. Obviously, the new front end for SAP is all Fiori-based. We build custom Fiori applications. We'll enhance standard SAP Fiori applications. We'll even build custom screens using SAP HANA application development. Cloud solutions. We are an S/4HANA Lighthouse customer, meaning that Dickinson and Associates runs SAP. And we're one of the premier partners in the new offering for SAP S/4HANA Cloud. We obviously implement BusinessObjects Cloud and Cloud for Customer and other various offerings offered by SAP. And then project and program management professionals. So we are Dickinson and Associates from a services perspective is primarily a project-based company. So we offer team resources. We offer associated with implementing your software, managing your upgrades, optimizing your implementations, things of that nature. Next slide, please. So I'm going to hand over to Rich Lebec here in a moment, but I really did want to focus momentarily on why this webinar is so important, given that we're focusing on the BusinessObjects Cloud-based Digital Boardroom. So in some of our more recent webinars, we focus on the SAP HANA Cloud platform and BusinessObjects Cloud and some of the analytics and planning capabilities. And today we're really focusing on another component of BusinessObjects Cloud and a HANA Cloud platform, which is the Digital Boardroom. And we're very, very excited about this because it's the new normal of executive insight and real-time data published within the boardroom. And today you're going to get an overview of the Digital Boardroom, but you're also going to see a demonstration of the software itself. So at this time, I'm going to hand over to Rich Lebec, who's going to walk us through the webinar. Rich?
Well, thanks, RJ. Can you hear me all right as well?
Hear you great.
Yep. All right, thanks. As RJ said, I'm going to step through an introduction to the Digital Boardroom, go over the key capabilities, and then also have a demonstration. I know we have a lot of folks that have seen different marketing material but are very interested in seeing a demo. Perhaps it might be the first time you're seeing a live demo of the digital boardroom. I intend to go through and create an agenda and put together different stories in the boardroom visualization. And then at the end, we'll have some time for Q&A. So when SAP had put together the digital boardroom, they had 3 goals in mind: creating total transparency, instant data-driven insights, and simplifying the boardroom process. And I'll go over each of these individually. So what do we mean by total transparency? Well, we want to get a complete picture of the company's situation in real time. So the key here being real-time data. Visualize in-context insights to maximize impact on the audience. So in this case, in context means when we're doing our analysis and our drill down, it's all relative to the main visualization or the main view that we're looking at. So we have multiple views of the same data, ability to slice and dice and see that quickly and in an ad hoc interactive nature. And with this, we're able to align executive decisions on one source of truth across business areas. So to get a complete picture of the company's situation in real time, we talk about having this ability of 360-degree reporting without data duplication in one environment. So really, it's some of the latest technologies that have come out recently that allow us to do that, namely cloud-based computing. This tool set, specifically the digital boardroom, runs on top of BusinessObjects Cloud, and it is a subscription service model, and it allows for 2 forms of connectivity to acquire data. You could acquire data and upload it to the cloud, or you could have it real time. So specific to your needs and the type of analysis that you might be doing, it might be beneficial to have an uploaded set of data rather than real time. So this cloud technology allows you to do both. So I'll point out the image here, which is in fact the view of the 3 screens, the 3 touch screens in the boardroom. So this is another aspect of technology that's recently come about that allows a convergence of these technologies to create this application. And then finally, bringing this data together in complete transparency, we were able to bring different business areas and align them in a single semantic model, right? So we'll touch on that a little bit more in detail. So I mentioned the touchscreens in the image on the previous slide. Let's talk about that a little bit more and what that means and how they're laid out and why it's important. So we leverage this touchscreen technology to present in a natural manner. Typical boardroom environment, executives are meeting, decision makers are meeting, and standing in front of either a whiteboard or, in this case, a set of the 3 monitors. They're able to point, they're able to pinch and drill down and scroll and move around and interact with the data. So in the application, we assign data visualizations to the different screens to leverage the available screen space for context information, as well as an anchor during the exploration. So we'll see later on in the demo that rather than just a free-form set of visualizations, there's a framework that's put together here, the ability to create an agenda, to create the current agenda topic and place it on the left, and have the stories that support that information or the detail in the center and the far right screen. So when we start talking about total transparency and a single truth we talk about bringing together data from different business areas. So for this slide, I'd like you to look beginning at the bottom, and we'll work our way up. So the first step is acquiring data, and this application will allow you to acquire data from multiple different sources, not just SAP. It does leverage SAP HANA and natively connects to SAP HANA, but it can also connect to your legacy SAP BW if you are an SAP BW user, as well as other data sources. For example, if you're a current BusinessObjects platform user, another data source can be your existing universes. So you could reuse and leverage that investment of your current BI reporting. And across all the lines of business, this information comes in to the BusinessObjects Cloud, of which the Digital Boardroom is a part of, right? So the gray-blue area that includes Digital Boardroom, visualization stories, and data connectivity and modeling, that area represents the BusinessObjects Cloud environment. So when we get into the demo, we'll be starting off, and I'll show you some of the stories that we have pre-built and how we manage them and organize them as far as for the boardroom application. So you're reimagining your boardroom for the digital economy. What insights do you need to get from that? Answer ad hoc questions on the fly to better understand the business, analyze root cause to identify business risks and opportunities in real time, and simulate impact of potential decisions to financials and operations. So perhaps most of the audience listening in today, you know, we're part of IT and part of BI teams, and we've been asked many of these questions in the past. This is a continuation of the ability to answer these ad hoc questions, but introducing additional technology to make it faster and better. The ad hoc capabilities are now available in a touchscreen environment and can be repetitively reused and updated in real time. Drilling down into detail allows us to get to the root causes. And also simulating impact. This is referencing the planning capabilities as well as the predictive analysis capabilities of the BusinessObjects Cloud environment, and therefore also available to Digital Boardroom. So once again, we see the three screens, and we'll quickly go through and demonstrate. You know, on the left we have our agenda and our topics, our high-level KPIs and metrics. In the center, we have some details on where we are at in terms of our agenda and presentation. There can be many screens here and many agenda items as we go through the application, and then details on the current story agenda. If there's something pointed out that needs to be drilled down into in detail, we could click down to explore and then see the next page of a story as defined within that specific story. So commonly referred to as drilling down. So what are some of the newer aspects of this BI tool that perhaps we haven't seen as much of in BI? Simulating impact of potential decisions to financials and operations. So we currently have a value driver tree available, and SAP Labs is continuing to make improvements to the planning, the GRC, and the predictive analysis components of BusinessObjects Cloud, but this is currently available. For those of you not familiar with a value driver tree, it allows you to input different values at different stages of a process to identify and to visualize different outcomes. It's not just one input, it's not just two, it's many at many stages of the process. I'm going to toggle back to the previous screen and point out that the far left agenda topic, if we had this value driver tree in place with a planning process model based on the changes we would make, we would then be able to see them in the overview dashboard. So real-time predictive analysis, real-time planning as needed. So you might be thinking, wow, this sounds pretty complex. Why does this slide say we're simplifying the boardroom process? Well, many organizations are currently doing these processes that we just described in the last several slides, but they're doing it in a manual process. They're updating Excel spreadsheets, they're updating PowerPoints on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis in order to get the same type of analysis out. The digital boardroom allows us to do this in an automated fashion and an organized fashion. It really provides the framework to bring all this data together and in visualizations that are truly stunning in many cases. So we're looking for better outcomes, reducing the prep time, and also predefining best practices to accelerate time to value. And that alludes to the framework that's part of the application and allows you to manage all of these different components and have them updated quickly. So the versatility we gain from the three-screen touch experience, and it's also available on a single screen experience for projector and laptop. So we'll see that during the demo, as I'm just going to be presenting on one screen via my laptop. So the concept that, you know, you're touching, you're moving, you can scroll, as I mentioned, pinch to zoom in, all kind of intuitive capabilities that we've learned to expect on our mobile devices, and the real live reusable content versus static. And as mentioned, the best practices with the framework that's designed into the tool. As part of this, we've talked about now data and the visualizations. Now I'll talk a little bit about the agenda builder. So we have the ability to take these visualizations with their data and build them into an agenda, put some quantitative as well as qualitative information into that, and I'll be demoing that shortly. This slide speaks to the integration capabilities with S/4HANA. If you're considering implementing S/4HANA or a current S/4HANA user, there are core data services that SAP has built predefined boardroom dashboards and stories onto. So there is a fast track implementation available to get this up and running quickly if you are an S/4HANA user. And this slide kind of encapsulates everything that we've talked about. So I'll kind of reiterate a couple of key points. The digital boardroom is a subscription-based application. It's software as a service, and it is part of the BusinessObjects Cloud environment. So BusinessObjects Cloud allows you to have these individual components and distribute them in different ways other than the digital boardroom. But the digital boardroom is basically the corporate-wide view of all the KPIs, of all the key KPIs. It's the main talking point of your organization, and and then the different Business Object Cloud components support it. So I mentioned planning now, predictive analysis, as well as your traditional BI components, and then governance as well. And as I just mentioned on the previous slide, there are several close integration points with SAP S/4HANA. I think I touched on this on an earlier slide, but it's worthwhile to reiterate. The two primary connection strategies for these visualizations is an online, that would be the equivalent of saying real time, and several data sources, as well as the ability to import data sets. So there may be some advantages to importing if we need a point in time to view data. If we need some historic data, we have those capabilities too. And here's a quick implementation roadmap, what to expect. Preparing requires some workshops, requirements gathering, as well as the enablement of the service, getting access to that cloud environment. So orchestrating your content, getting it organized, defining your KPIs, making sure that the technical architecture, infrastructure, and authorizations are in place, not only for the cloud environment, but also for the source systems and source data. And then bringing in, defining all the proper procedures and best practices, bringing in all that data. In most cases, a typical situation would be bringing in data from many different lines of business, perhaps even SAP and non-SAP systems. So the Business Objects Cloud environment allows you to harmonize that data and model it and do prototyping in order to then be able to visualize it and build the components necessary to put together your digital boardroom. I did want to identify an additional resource. I think a month or two ago, there was another webinar that was specifically put together on Business Objects Cloud, and Rob Jansen and Craig Tangway had put that together. I'd recommend that you take a look at that. My starting point for the demo today is going to be starting with the stories. If you'd like some background on the predictive analysis components, the planning, the data acquisition, and how to get to that story building, follow this link and view our demo on Business Objects Cloud on YouTube. Okay, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump to Business Objects Cloud. I've already logged in here. This is our basic welcome screen or our home screen. You'll see in the menu we have the ability to create connections for data acquisition. We have our modeling to build models from those data sets. And then if in our stories, we could assign those data sets to visualizations, and then we build our boardroom agenda and are able to view it through the boardroom. I'm going to take a step back to stories in order to give some background. If I jump to agenda, it doesn't give you a good feel for what makes up the stories and how we're assigning it to the boardroom visualizations. So let's take a quick look at a finance story that's a demo item that's been put together. And I'll point out what some of the visualizations are, so we can see what they look like on the story, and then later we'll see them within the digital boardroom. So I've opened up this finance webinar demo, and it's made up of multiple pages. First one being overview, a page called overview 1, overall insights, also looking a little bit different. EBITDA details and EBITDA planning. So really just wanted you to make sure you see these and you understand the concept that these stories were built in BusinessObjects Cloud. Planning is a bit simpler table available here. I'll jump back to the overall insights, and since I'm here, I'll just show you some of the visualizations that are available that are typically used when building these stories. So charts, tables, geomapping, images, pictograms, RSS reads, so that would include data feeds from outside sources available over the internet, the value driver tree, as well as input controls. So you could see that you could build quite a robust dashboard utilizing these different visualizations and components and the combination of them as well. But keep in mind our finance webinar demo, as well as the different pages within the overview. And I'm going to go ahead and jump to the digital boardroom now. And although I've pre-built some of these, I'm going to go ahead and build one from scratch. So we choose a new agenda. I'll refer to it as Dickinson Associates Webinar and DB for Digital Boardroom. And this is pretty much very much a non-technical role. Typically the presenter would do this, or their assistant or business analyst perhaps that supports them. I'll call that Finance DB for Digital Boardroom. I'll go ahead and put a date of today in, assuming that we would be presenting this today. And a lot of this is basically for organizing the information so that other users in the system, as well as the presenter, could find this information and have it organized nicely. So in this case, my location is Chicago. We have the ability to save throughout the process and come back to it later. So we're going to go ahead and name this Finance. Overview. Subtitles not necessarily required, but I'll just put the number 1 in here in case if we create additional items. And this is where we're able to choose our story, as the label indicates. So we're going to choose Finance Webinar Demo, which we just looked at. And now you'll see the different pages that are available. As our starting point, we could put a presenter, Rich, and CFO. Then as a placeholder for the agenda, the time when perhaps this meeting would be starting and finishing. We'll save again. Now at this point, we need our sub-items. A lot of that was just informational and identified what the story was. Now we're going to actually assign the different story pages to a specific screen that will be viewed. We could choose the primary story that we chose the first time or choose something different, but we want to have a specific story. So if you notice, as I referred to earlier, our best practice is to put the overview screen at the left, content screen in the middle, and an additional context to the far right. So we'll follow along with that. I'm going to place the Insights page there. I have to choose a specific story again. And we'll choose Overview 1, or sorry, Overview. Same story in this case. And EBITDA details. So we have some guidance in terms of how to organize this, but in essence, you've seen it's quite free form. If we wanted to mix 3 different stories and have 3 different pages and go in any order, we could if we wanted to. So now that that's been defined as that sub-item, I actually have the ability to embed an image there. So I had done a screen capture of that first overview page earlier, and have that saved. And at this point, you're seeing where this is heading. We have the ability to continue to duplicate this under many, many items. And all of these stories have their data sources, which in most cases might be defined to be real time. So we're meeting all those goals that were explained in the slide presentation. We have the ability to go ahead and preview this at this point. Assuming we had multiple agenda items, this basically acts as a menu item. We could now click at Finance Overview and click on the individual boardroom agenda item, and it's going to bring up our individual screens. Now, I'm demonstrating this in a single screen mode, but the icons at the bottom represent the 3 different screens available in the boardroom. So had we been in the boardroom with the physical touchscreen hardware available, this is what we'd be seeing. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, all these visualizations are built in BusinessObjects Cloud, and we have the ability to get some robust information here. So in this case, the left side includes some of the RSS feeds. So it includes outside data, outside of the organization, perhaps a stock price, perhaps a news feed about the company or the industry that you're in. And the individual visualizations with, you know, on hover capabilities, clicking for drill down. You also have the ability, when in one screen, to control what will be available in another screen. Better represented when all 3 screens are seen at the same time, but you'd have the ability to perhaps click on one of the bars and have the far right screen change. So drill down within the screen, drill down into other screens, and view that as well. So I tried to go over some of the more technical aspects of how this is put together, as well as just the slide presentation and the marketing information. So really hope you found that beneficial. In addition to that, you know, I guess I'm ready to take some questions. So let's see if I have any questions available. So my first question, can I leverage my current on-premise BI 4.1 content? So this application is called BusinessObjects Cloud, but it is a separate application from the BusinessObjects BI 4.1 platform. You can leverage the universe connection and acquire data via the universe, so you can leverage that information. There is no direct ability to, let's say, upload a web intelligence report into this environment or a Design Studio dashboard. The concept of how these are built is slightly different. So I think in my past experience with seeing how some of the newer tools are introduced. Interoperability is typically an innovation that takes place over time. So I would expect, and I've heard that the labs are working on allowing for some interoperability. So if you use current BI 4.1 platform, perhaps you use the Open Document API, and that's become much more robust and available to different tools over the years. So it allows you to link between, let's say, a dashboard and a web intelligence report, or vice versa, as well as between dashboards and crystal reports, as well as perhaps outside web pages and applications. So I've heard, and I would expect that in the future that, particularly since this is also a web application server, that linking might be available in the future. So second question I have, does Digital Boardroom require a customer to run SAP HANA? So I made mention that the S/4HANA has some core data services that natively integrate with the Digital Boardroom, but S/4HANA is not required, neither is HANA Enterprise. When you're purchasing a subscription to BusinessObjects Cloud and the Digital Boardroom, you don't need to acquire that hardware. It's available out on the cloud. You log in, and you define your connections to your data sources or upload your data. Okay. So next question, can I build this in SAP Lumira or SAP Design Studio? Well, some of the visualizations do look similar, but I think kind of the convergence of additional technologies, namely the touch screens, the 3 screens, the centralized cloud-based application that allows you to bring in, combine your data, harmonize it, have it in a single place, have it accessible over the cloud. I don't think those individual solutions like Lumira and Design Studio have all those capabilities. So, and then the agenda builder as well. So although some of the visualizations may be there, you really wouldn't be able to duplicate all of this in an easy fashion without some sort of customization. Oh, and then you'd also need to include the predictive analysis component and as well as the planning component. So in some cases, you could look at it as SAP's packaged a lot of functionality all within this cloud subscription. So it might be cheaper to go with this solution than to try to build it with the separate components. Okay, next question, how is security handled? So we didn't really touch on that, seeing as how I still have the cloud environment open here. I could just point out that there is a system administration piece. I'll say that the system administration is a similar model to what's used on the BusinessObjects BI 4.1 platform. There's a concept of users. They're placed into teams, the equivalent of a BI4 group. And then there are resources, meaning the different stories and boardroom agendas that are available resources. So the different types of users are assigned different access levels to those different resources. So one user might be a developer, one might be a power user, somebody might just be a viewer. So those same concepts apply. BusinessObjects Cloud also supports Active Directory, so it's convenient for users not having to remember a whole new set of passwords. So Active Directory can be synced and integrated with user account information here. I hope I answered that question thoroughly. Let's see, and I think I'll have one more question, and then I'll pretty much be wrapping up. Are the 3 touch screens required to run this application? So I think the availability of these different technologies, are what, one of the main features of this, the concept that you are in a boardroom and you are able to stand in front of the screen and point and touch and drill down, but it's not required. The demo I've just provided showing my desktop was a single screen at a time. There are navigation capabilities, right? So the application's even available on mobile devices. So I guess you could have a pretty broad spectrum of devices to deliver this content from. Obviously, we even see the image on the screen. There's a lot going on, and these particular stories that were designed to be displayed, I don't think that would translate well necessarily to a mobile device, but there might be a situation where you use this application across many delivery methods, meaning you could very well design a story that's suitable for an iPad or even an iPhone and share the same common data source and same common naming and metadata information, so that whether you're in a boardroom or viewing it on your desktop or viewing it via a mobile device, you'd have the common, number one, the single source of the truth, the same data and the same naming conventions and the same definitions of that data. So that was my last question. I appreciate your attention. I hope you found this informative. My contact information, as well as RJ's, is available on the last slide. As I mentioned, Dickinson Associates does publish our webinars out to YouTube. So if you're looking to replay this or see our other webinars, you can find that information out on YouTube under Dickinson and Associates. Thanks for attending this webinar. Have a great day.